Hello darlings, how the devil are we? I think it's fair to say when it comes to video games and movies, there's not really been a good track record at all. However, if we go back to 1997, there was one exception to that rule, and that is of course GoldenEye 007. Now the reason that GoldenEye has hit the radar again is because our beloved friends MGM have slapped once again another copyright claim against another custom 007 GoldenEye mod. So basically what happened this time is there was a YouTuber named Crollywood who is fantastically talented because he managed to recreate every single player GoldenEye level in the Far Cry 5 engine. And if you haven't had a look at the video, then I highly recommend you do, because the whole thing was absolutely gorgeous and looked fantastic. And for many people, GoldenEye is just a trip down nostalgia lane, a reminder of our childhoods, and one of the great classics. I gotta say, I almost feel a little bit emotional for this guy, because he's been developing it for 3 years, and because it got a little bit of attention, it ended up on MGM's radar, and then they sent them a cease and desist. More specifically, Ubisoft sent Crollywood the cease and desist, who got it from MGM. And here's the thing that really kicks me in the gut as well, is this wasn't even up for sale, no one was looking to make any money out of it, it simply was on the Far Cry 5 arcade. Now, I'm no legal expert and I don't really know anything about copyright, and I'm sure someone will tell me that they need to do it if they want to hold on to their copyright, blah blah blah, but it really feels like it's a shoot first, ask questions later. Now, Crollywood did tweet out and he said that he has got a backup of it. He's got the levels saved on his PS4/PS5. They're also on PS Plus Cloud, and he also has a USB backing up all of his hard work. But as he rightly points out, he is now on MGM's radar. His lawyers probably have him on speed dial, and as a result, it's going to be tricky for him to find a way to get them up. Now, I personally absolutely love GoldenEye. It was a game that I remember fondly. I used to get together with a group of people and we'd all run around as Objob at the weekends after school and have a great time. So, as I previously mentioned, there's a huge drive to really kind of recreate the nostalgia that we once had. And hey, you know what? We'll probably remake it and get it one day and we'll probably go, what was all the fuss about? But nonetheless, the journey to get there has been paved by absolute legal landmines. And here's the thing, not even the big boys at Rare have been able to manage to get one out into live production because of all the legality surrounding it. I'm not sure if many of you remember this, but back in the day on the Xbox 360, there was meant to be a GoldenEye 007 remaster. And that was just it. It was a full remaster of the 1997 classic. It had been updated to 60 FPS, it had been given a 16:9 ratio, and just an overall lick of paint on the visual improvements. And just like the new Diablo, it gave you the option to switch between the new visuals and the old ones. Now this one almost went under the radar because it wasn't only until Grassloo uploaded a full playthrough that the Lost Project actually came to light. And here's where it really broke my heart when I found out about this one, is because apparently, according to Rare, they did an interview, it was only a few weeks away from actually going into a full release, which would have meant that at the time, it would have given people access to GoldenEye multiplayer over the current implementation of Xbox Live. The silly thing is the problem wasn't with the development, it was actually with the licensing at the time. So this was a storm that created the whole situation. Rare basically created the original 007 with the blessing of Nintendo, who was supplying their budget at the time. However, in 2002, Microsoft came along and bought up Rare. So with Rare in their pocket, Microsoft looked to do 007 GoldenEye remastered. However, at the time, Nintendo still owned the license for GoldenEye. And as you can imagine, nothing came to fruition at the time. There wasn't this kind of sense of cohesive and greater gaming good at the moment, so no one could agree on anything, and thus it was all cancelled. But here's the thing that fell out of that. So as some of you may know, there actually was a GoldenEye 007 remake made by Activision, which was put on the Wii in 2010. And it was awful, and it wasn't the nostalgia-filled GoldenEye that people wanted, it was just terrible and fell flat on its face. But what it did showcase though, is that Nintendo gave the blessing for this one to Activision, but didn't give the blessing to Microsoft. So it kind of showed that it was Nintendo just ultimately blocking off the GoldenEye project that led to its failure. But I'm sure a lot of you have read Nintendo copyright stories in the past. I'm sure you've seen things around the whole Mario franchise, so probably not ultimately surprised by the behaviour on this. But alas, our story doesn't end here, because actually in 2017 there was a glimmer of hope. There was a whisper on the wind that things could change, and actually maybe GoldenEye could actually get a re-release. So what am I blabbering on about? Well, back in 1997, apparently Nintendo registered a certain customs copyright, which means that they could sell GoldenEye all around the world. So with this copyright out the way, it basically gave hope that people could start making mods again and produce a remake of the original 007 GoldenEye. And enter our new champion, Mr. Ben Kalkoff, who was responsible for making the GoldenEye 25 project. If you don't know what the GoldenEye 25 project is, I highly recommend you check out some of the videos, at least to pay your respects to it. And this was a project that looked really hopeful. It was basically a GoldenEye remake of the full campaign in Unreal 4. And the game looked gorgeous. It captured all the magic of the original. However, it was done in Unreal 4, so as you can imagine, looked absolutely gorgeous. And you know, it's kind of hypocritical because MGM step in like a giant Bond bad guy and stamp this project out. And this is where we are today, with MGM basically jumping up and down on every GoldenEye project that spawns up and stamps it out. In fact, it's not just GoldenEye, it's any James Bond project. And this is where we are today, with no GoldenEye remaster on the horizon. Now, interestingly enough, it only seems to be the single-player games that have been taken out. If you are interested in recreating some kind of original GoldenEye experience, then I do suggest that you check out the GoldenEye 007 multiplayer-only HD remake. And if it's still remaining out there, there's also Half-Life Source, which looked to create GoldenEye in the Source engine, the original one. But yeah, it's a real heavy heart to see all these fan projects just get stamped on out. I wish there could be some sort of reconciliation that could be agreed, allowed them to just make things that, aren't financially gaining. No, that is not the case currently. If you are looking for more Bond-esque action though, there is one little glimmer of hope, but it's not a GoldenEye remake. Basically, the Hitman developers IO Interactive, they are currently working on a super secret James Bond project. I have no idea what it's like. I can only imagine it's just going to be Hitman with hair and more suave and martinis, but who knows. Anyway, MGM sucks. I hope we get to see GoldenEye one day, even if it is just for the nostalgia element. But there we have it. I hope you're all well, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and maybe you've learnt a little bit about the history of James Bond and its development of custom fan games. But there we go. That's it. That's the story, and it's a little bit sad. A big thank you for the 200 subs, by the way. It means a huge amount to me and the team. I hope you're all well. Remember to stay safe, and we'll be back with more news soon.